this entire coding session $0. No credit card, no API key from Anthropic or OpenAI. Just an extension, a free account, and a model that costs literally nothing to run. After GitHub Copilot moved to metered billing, and developers started watching $100 bills appear overnight, I went looking for what's actually still free in 2026. Two of these tools surprised me, and one so-called free tier from Google already got shut down before I could even finish testing it. If you caught the last video, you know Copilot's first full month of usage-based billing just closed, and some developers are reporting costs 10 to 50 times higher than their old flat rate. So, the real question isn't whether Copilot is expensive now. It's what you switch to. I tested many different free paths this week. 2 coding agents, 1 hardware giant's API, Google's genuinely confusing free lineup, and 1 router that ties all of them together, and an OpenCode active coding agent rather than a simple chat box. Here's exactly what's free, what's fake free, and what already disappeared. Let's start with Cline. This is the extension that basically started the open source agent wave inside VS Code. It began life as a project called Claude Dev, and it's been forked more times than almost anything else in this space. Cline itself, the extension, is completely free. Apache 2.0 license, install it from the marketplace, and there's no subscription sitting behind it. Cline's default mode is bring your own key. You plug in Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, or another provider. Pay them directly, and Cline takes 0 cut. But Cline also runs its own hosted provider, and inside that picker there's usually a small rotating handful of models, 2 or 3 at a time, tagged as free, no API key required at all. Which specific models show up changes week to week, so this is a bonus to check for yourself, not a plan to build your whole workflow around. If you outgrow that free rotation, Cline just launched Cline Pass, a low-cost subscription, a few dollars for the first month and under 10 a month after that, bundling a curated set of open-weight models with much higher quotas than the free rotation. Worth knowing it exists, even though it's not free. Cline's strength is its plan mode and act mode. It thinks through a change first, shows you the plan, and only touches your files once you approve it. Every file edit, every terminal command, waits for your yes. If you want an agent you can fully trust with a messy production repo, that approval step matters. Cline built-in free selector gives you up to 2,000 requests per day for specialized coding models. The 2,000 daily request limit is a single, shared pool across the entire built-in free selector, rather than a separate limit for each model. Kilocode forked directly from Cline and from another project called RuCode, which actually got archived back in May. So if you were on Ru, Kilo or Cline are where that lineage lives now. Kilo does everything Cline does. But the part that matters most for this video is what Kilo calls auto-free. Open the model picker, and there's a live list of models with 0 input and output cost. Right now that includes models from NVIDIA, Cohere, Tencent, StepFun, Poolside, and a few dedicated coding labs. No credit card, no provider API key, You just create a free Kilo account and start coding. The catch, and I want to be honest about this one, free models rotate. A model that's free this month might get repriced or replaced next month, because Kilo is passing through whatever the underlying provider charges. And some providers subsidize access for a while and then stop. Treat it as a rotating buffet, not a permanent guarantee. If you want steadier access without hunting for free model availability, Kilo also lets you bring your own key just like Cline, with zero markup on top of provider pricing. The native free models on Kilo Code have a fixed rate limit of 200 requests per hour per IP address. It enforces these limits based on the number of requests rather than your total input or output token count. Depending on the specific free model, context windows range anywhere from 196,000 to 256,000 tokens. It's rare, but because these free models are shared across the entire community via the Kilo gateway, you may occasionally encounter 429 too many requests, or free model usage limit reached errors during peak hours if global provider quotas are hit early. To bypass this, for example, you can connect your own API keys from third-party platforms like OpenRouter that grant an independent bucket of daily requests to keep you running smoothly. That's real working code generation, running on literally free hosted models with a 2-minute setup. If free tier deep dives like this are useful, subscribe. Next up in this chapter, I'm putting NVIDIA's own API straight into the same workflow, without middlemen. You just saw an NVIDIA model sitting inside Kilo's free list, Nemotron. That's not a coincidence. NVIDIA has quietly become one of the biggest sources of free inference on the internet, and you can go straight to them yourself. Head to build.nvidia.com, sign up for the free NVIDIA developer program, no credit card, and generate an API key. It's prefixed NVAPI. That key gives you access to over 100 open-weight models: Llama, DeepSeek, Quyen, GLM, NVIDIA's own Nemotron family, and more, all behind a single endpoint that's compatible with the standard OpenAI library. Switching models is literally one line. That is the model name string. The free tier does have real limits. NVIDIA doesn't publish one clean credit number, but every source agrees on the rate ceiling. Roughly 40 requests per minute per account. Plenty for prototyping and testing. Not enough for production traffic serving real users. Plug that endpoint straight into Cline Code or Copilot chat as a custom provider, and you've got frontier adjacent open models running for the price of an email address. Now here's the one that surprised me most, and it's the promise from the intro. If you searched for Google's free Copilot alternative anytime in the last year, you probably found Gemini Code Assist for individuals, a free plugin for VS Code and JetBrains. As of June 18th this year, Google shut that down. The IDE extension and the old Gemini CLI stopped serving free tier requests entirely, and Google is pushing everyone toward a new product called Anti-Gravity instead. Anti-Gravity does have a free tier, no credit card, several models including Gemini and some Claude options. But community reports since launch describe daily free limits getting cut sharply within months, plus an opaque credit system layered on top. Treat it as a moving target, not something to build a workflow on. So, is there anything from Google that's actually stable? Yes, and it's the one nobody markets as a coding tool. Skip the IDE extensions entirely and go straight to Google AI Studio. Generate a Gemini API key there, and Google's own documentation confirms Google AI Studio usage is free of charge. Full stop, no credit card required. The Flash and Flash Lite models come with genuinely usable rate limits for solo development, and that free tier isn't a preview. It's the permanent Gemini API pricing structure. Take that key, drop it into Cline or Kilo Code as a Google provider, and you've got a stable, Google-backed model behind your agent that doesn't depend on whichever IDE extension Google decides to keep this quarter. Fifth one, and it kept coming up in the comments and forums after the Copilot billing story broke. OpenRouter sits in front of dozens of providers behind one API key, and it maintains its own filtered list of genuinely free models, mostly open-weight models that labs make available at no cost through the router. Developers leaving Copilot kept naming it specifically because it plugs into the same VS Code extensions we've already covered. If you want one dashboard to compare free models across several providers at once instead of juggling 5 accounts, this is where that happens. OpenRouter offers 2 distinct ways to target free models: calling a specific model directly or utilizing their automated routing system. Instead of hard-coding a specific model, you can target OpenRouter/free. This router automatically selects a free model at random from the active pool. It intelligently passes your request to ensure the selected model supports required features like image input, tool calling, or structured JSON outputs. Because infrastructure costs are covered by the upstream hosting providers or OpenRouter themselves, usage limits apply based on your account tiers. If you have never purchased platform credits, your account is limited to 50 free requests per day. If you have purchased at least $10 in credits at any point, your free tier allowance dynamically increases to 1,000 free requests per day. Free model requests are globally kept at a maximum speed of 20 requests per minute to prevent abuse. 6.1. OpenCode is a 100% free, open source AI coding agent that operates in your terminal, desktop app, or IDE. While the core software is completely free, accessing the underlying AI brains models for zero cost is achieved through 3 primary paths: OpenCode Zen, the native free tier, OpenRouter integration, or Ollama for private offline local models. When routing code tasks through OpenCode Zen's free infrastructure, your input data and code prompts are not private. The limit is 200 requests per 5-hour window rather than a flat per day cap. This quota is shared across any of the free community allocated models hosted natively through OpenCode Zen, such as the Big Pickle model that is not just similar to GLM 5.2, it is a free, stealth routing of GLM 5.2 provided natively inside OpenCode Zen, or DeepSeek Flash variants. So, here's where that leaves you. Want the most control? Bring your own key to Cline. Want free hosted models with zero setup and JetBrains support? Kilo Code. Want the widest open model catalog? NVIDIA NIM directly? For Google, skip the IDE plugin story entirely and go straight to an AI Studio API key. That's the version of free Google has actually kept stable. And if you'd rather compare free models across every provider from one dashboard instead of juggling accounts, that's OpenRouter. None of these fix the real problem, which is that AI coding cost is shifting from your subscription to your architecture decisions. The tool matters less than knowing exactly where your tokens are going. Subscribe if you don't want to miss whether free models can actually handle a real multi-file refactor. Thank you.